Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's podcast episode. And today is going to be about a resource for you when you need to make a hard decision or when there's something that is presented in front of you and you're like, I don't know if I should do this or if I should do that. I recently realized that a lot of my friends and family members come to me in these moments where they're like, I don't know if I should do this or that, or I'm thinking about doing something that is a big, major life change. And while we have those preconceived, like make a pros and cons list, and that would be one of the first things that I would say to do is make a pros and cons list. But when you're making a pros and cons list, keep it factual and try to do it in a time, space, and place where you can eliminate the emotion from it, or even reflect with somebody else that doesn't have an emotional tie to this decision as well. So while I think innately and naturally we create these pros and cons lists in our heads, we really do want to take pen to paper. And if you're a verbal processor, try to even find somebody who can be neutral in helping you make this decision, somebody who really doesn't have skin in the game to bounce ideas off of, but look at the facts, not the feelings. The second thing that I always do is talk to someone that has made this decision and be very careful with who you share it with. You don't have to consult this, that, the other person. Even if these people are really close to you personally, you do not need to make these decisions with them and for them in mind, right? A lot of these times it could be something of like, I don't know what my parents will think. I don't know what this person might think. But this is really just something that you have to come to a sound conclusion on your own. So be very careful who you share this with and who you talk about it to. The next thing is know that you can always change your mind because everything is temporary. I know that a lot of these decisions feel very weighted. I know that a lot of these decisions feel like they are life or death, or what are all the cliches, written in stone. But a lot of these things, if it's something where you ask yourself, if it doesn't work out, can I go back or can I do something new? I can think of a lot of examples of this with my friends and how I've helped them make these decisions. But I even remember when I was really, really young and my husband and I were just starting to date, and I was thinking about quitting my job at the gym because of a lot of factors. My business was taking off. I was still finishing out my marketing and sales degree. And I was like, I think I'm going to put in my notice at the gym. And I listed off a variety of reasons. And later on, I asked him, did you ever think I was crazy for making that decision? And he was like, no, because your job at the gym was something that if it didn't work out, you could always go back to do that again or find something else. It was something where it was like, okay, even if it didn't work out, there could be another path to walk down or to navigate through. And so a lot of these decisions, if you're deciding to even make decisions for your kids, like, is it something where it's like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, then we can just go back or we can figure something else out if this decision doesn't work. The next thing is, and I think this is the biggest one, is how can you ease into the change and the transition or different decision? Is there any sort of way where you could sit and reflect on what if we just tried this? And I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know of anybody in this situation or circumstance, but I know that it's been helpful to me to even rely on audiobooks or other social media accounts, or maybe I know back in the day used to search things on YouTube to find people who have gone through those experiences. And I've wanted to be that for other people as well, because, for example, I have incompetent cervix, and that is kind of a rare condition in pregnancy. And I have YouTube videos on this topic, and still to this day, which my first video about it was 9 years ago, my last video about it was pretty much 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, but weekly, those YouTube videos get comments on it. So while you may think my situation is so novelty, my situation that I'm making a decision in is so unique, I would encourage you to seek out somebody who's maybe a few steps ahead of you, or somebody who has walked that sort of path before. I am listening to the audiobook right now, The Power Pause, which is really about when women are taking a pause in their striving career-wise to focus on family, and how there can be this emphasis in both. And she really navigates a lot of different situations for women. And it's just really cool to hear the uniqueness, but also the similarities. That's something where I think in life, I have this saying that I say to people, it's all ice cream, but different flavors, where the situations and seasons of life that we walk through, they're very similar. And so look for the similarities, look for the different hindsight and wisdom, instead of thinking of the yeah, buts. Yeah, but they didn't have this, or yeah, but she had that. Instead of looking at things through that lens, think about the similarities. Think about the wisdom that you can soak in from another person who has walked in those shoes. Because like I said, that one piece of advice that I gave you about being very careful of who you share this with, or this decision with, just make sure that it's from a place of even neutrality. You know, when we make decisions in really heightened emotion states, that's when things can get out of control. That's when we can make a lot of mistakes. And I don't even want to say, you know, if you make this decision and it doesn't work out, whatever this decision may be, that it's a mistake. It's not. You take the lessons from everything, and at least you tried. At least you tried. At least you figured it out. At least there isn't the lingering of what if while you're making this decision. And so if you're running through a really big life decision right now and you're wondering and you're navigating this, I'll run through these really quickly. Is number one, make out a pros and cons list, but try to do it in kind of a neutral emotional state. Take those things, put them out factually on paper. Talk to someone that has made this decision, and be very careful of who you share this with. 3, know that you can always change your mind, because everything is temporary. That's a Stoic philosophy, is everything is temporary. Good days are temporary. Bad days are temporary. Highs are temporary. Lows are temporary. Everything is temporary. How can you, and then 4th and last, how can you ease in to making this change or transition while making this decision? Is there any way where you can like dip your toe in instead of jumping off the deep end? This is just coming to me that this is exactly what I did at the end of 2022 when it came to podcast production. So at that time, I still was trying to build out Feminine Edge Collective, which was my membership course, that membership/course that taught women how to live in sync with their cycle. The main bulk of my business and the business income was my network marketing. And that was something that was there, but I knew there was like this disconnect happening between the direction of that and myself. And I thought to myself, and I was out on a walk one day, of like, if you got paid for doing something that you just were already doing, what would it be? And I was like listening to podcasts. And since I am a podcast host myself, I know all of the tech side of things. And I actually really enjoy doing the tech side of things. And so when I started with podcast production, I didn't start with a full client roster like I have now. I have a full client roster of absolutely amazing and incredible clients. Some have paused, some have changed, some have navigated, some have stopped, some have gone a different direction, but I've had an amazing amount of women that I've worked with, but it didn't start with a full roster. And throughout the different phases of my life, a full roster may be more or less, right? Based on the capacity that I have and hold and I get to decide. But I started off with just 3 people. Well, actually, it was one person. And then I was like, oh, I could take on another. And then another was placed to me. And I thought to myself, I can manage 3. I can manage 3 podcast clients to dip my toes into this and see if it is something that I enjoy. And here I am in the spring of 2025 doing this and still navigating it. And some of those clients are still with me and some are not, but all of which we are still friends, and I'm cheering them on from the sideline of what they're doing and the endeavors that they've gone on to do, whether that includes their podcast or not. And so that was really how I was able to step my toe into things. I've known a lot of freelancers, virtual assistants who started with just working with one client, and then one client became 2 because of a referral, and then became 3 because of another referral. And then they had this confidence to start marketing themselves in that way. Some social media managers that I am connected with started in that way. Marketing agencies, PR agencies. I've heard a lot of business success stories over the course of listening to podcasts myself and also networking with other entrepreneurs, that their business developed one small step at a time and kind of easing their toe into it. And while some work really well with jumping all in and clearing something completely off their plate, but oftentimes as moms and a grown adult with responsibilities, sometimes we have to navigate those decisions one step at a time. And if there is any way to ease into that type of decision, like, why not pursue it? Because then you're not fully out the door. I know that phrase, one foot in the door, is a negative connotation, but does it always have to be? I don't think so. Or 1 foot out the door, or 1 foot in the door, or whatever it is. So I hope this is helpful to you. And I also want to caveat this with a lot of prayer. I truly believe that if you connect to God, if you connect to the higher power that is operating all of this universe, not just the universe, but the one who controls the universe, I believe God gives clarity and signs for the next right step. I don't think we are meant to really see the full course of our life and how it's meant to unfold. But what I think is the next right indicated step, it still might feel scary, but I think that scariness feelings happens because you're projecting, you're looking way too far forward versus what's the next right step for right now? And ask yourself that question. What's the next right step for right now? Thank you so much for listening, my friend. I will talk to you next time. Bye.